Hey, what's up? What's going on, y'all? So, I did a couple of videos on the lawsuit for the Unsundario brothers against the lawyers of Jussie Smollett. However, I forgot to actually talk about, or what I should have did was I should have talked about the lawsuit from the city of Chicago against Jussie Smollett first. And now that I'm kind of like looking at this lawsuit, it kind of puts things in perspective. So I wanted to do a really quick video on the lawsuit that Chicago has against Jussie Smollett. Basically, before I get into this, of course, everyone knows, or you should know by now, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school, and I'm not licensed to practice law. So basically, take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you are a lawyer, I do welcome your critique and any information you may provide on this video. So here it is. This is a lawsuit that the city of Chicago has against the actor Jussie Smollett. Basically, this is what's called a civil cover sheet, and you can see the plaintiffs is or are is the city of Chicago, and the defendant is Jussie Smollett. And interestingly enough, they're asking for a jury trial. I would think that the city of Chicago would just ask for a judge because a judge would basically play everything by the book. I'm not sure why the city would ask for a jury trial. I don't think a jury trial I believe a jury trial would risk things swaying towards Justice Smollett. In this situation, if I were the counsels for the city, I would probably want a lawyer, a judge who's going to go by the book and basically just use the actual law. But anyway, the litigation is based on a statutory action. As you can see here, it's checked off. And just on a high level overview, the we have multiple sections of the lawsuit. There's a complaint and the nature of the case, the parties, jurisdiction and venue, factual allegations, and what else is in this thing? Let's see here. Defendant and the Osundario brothers executed the stage attack. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any other sections that we should and then basically gets into the count one violation of the SEO, which basically talks about the municipal code 1-21-010A. And I've actually found that statute here, and we can have a quick look at it. And basically, it goes on to basically 1-21-010 false statements, and it basically they're charging him with A, I believe. So Section A, we're not going to read all this. We'll just read Section A. Any person who knowingly makes a false statements of material fact to the city in violation of any statute, ordinance, or regulation, or who knowingly makes a false statements of material fact for the city in connection with any application, report, affidavit, oath, or attestation, including a statement of material fact made in connection with the bid, proposal, contract, or economic disclosure statement or affidavit is liable to the city for civil penalty not less than $500. That's interesting because, as you all know, they're going after him for at least $130,000 and not more than $1,000. This is going to be pretty interesting. Plus up to three times the amount of the damages which the city sustains because of the person violation of this section. Oh my God. So basically, this section here, this statute allows them to triple the amount they originally asked for, which was $130,000. So now it looks like this guy is going to be on the hook for potentially paying somewhere in upwards of $400,000 or close to it. A person who violates this section shall also be liable for the city's litigation and collection costs and attorney fees. Oh my God. The penalties imposed by this section shall be in addition to any other penalties provided for the municipal code. So this is potentially devastating. If they win, Jussie Smollett is basically going to be in a position where he will have to file bankruptcy unless he probably has 500,000, $500,000 sitting around somewhere. If he doesn't have that, oh, this will absolutely destroy him. I can see a situation where if they win, they're going to get every penny he has in addition to his royalty check. So I hope he stays an actor, and I hope he gets booked for some pretty big roles, because this lawsuit is going to be expensive. But going back to the actual lawsuit, it basically breaks down. It gets into the charges, and basically it's this section is essentially what we've just read. And oh God, so they're going to hit him with D as well. Let's see what D is. D, for the purpose of Chapter 1-21 of this code, a person normally makes a false statement of the material fact when that person makes a statement of material fact with actual knowledge that the statement was false, or makes a statement of material fact with knowledge of the facts or information that would cause a reasonable person to be aware that the statement was false when it was made, signs, certifies, attests, submits, or otherwise provides assurances, or cause any person to sign, certify, attest, or submit, otherwise provide assurances that the statement of material facts is true or accurate in deliberate ignorance or reckless disregard of the truth, or falsify of a statement for the purpose of this section, a person who fails to make a reasonable investigation to determine the accuracy and truthfulness or completeness of any material facts in deliberate ignorance or reckless disregard uh, of the truth or falsity of the material fact. So I'm not sure why they are charging Section D of this code. It's probably going to be, and I'm just guessing here. Maybe there was something Jussie Smollett said or did to cause others to basically make false statements. So the first thing that comes to mind is that maybe he wanted the Unsandario brothers to actually come out and corroborate his story. But as we know, the Unsandario brothers were actually investigated, arrested, and investigated, and they basically, gave up the goods, at the investigation. So I'm not sure why they have D in here. But hey, let's look at this and find out if they mention why. Defendants knowingly made numerous false statements of material fact in violation of SCO. Defendant knowingly made numerous false statements of material fact to Chicago police officers. In addition, when presented with evidence that the statements were false, defendants again refused to inform Chicago police officers that he knew the Onsandario brothers, which were his attackers. Because of the defendant's false statements, the city expended a significant resource and manpower, including but not limited to $130,000. So I'm not sure why they actually charged him with D as well, but we won't get into the entire lawsuit. I'll save I'll create a breakdown video later, and we'll talk about, we'll break this lawsuit down, and then we'll analyze it and just basically dissect it and try to understand each component or each section of the lawsuit. But I'm just going to scroll down really quickly here. Here's another one, count two violations, CRO. The city incorporates all preceding allegations if they were set forth herein. The CRO provides that any person who causes the city or its agents to incur costs in order to provide services reasonably related to such persons' violation of any federal or state or local law, such person's failure to correct conditions which violate any federal, state, or local law when such person was under legal duty to do so shall be liable for the city for those costs. So this is Municipal Code 1-20-020. Let's see if that can be found fairly quickly. 1-20-020. I think that's it, right? Yeah. 1-20-020, essentially. So let's see what that's all about here. Any person who calls the city or its agents, oh, so we've essentially read it already, shall be liable. Okay, so basically I'm going to shortcut. This liability shall be collectible in the same manner as any other personal liability. So, man, they're basically going to nail this guy with this lawsuit. So essentially, one of the things I notice that's actually interesting in this case is that they don't actually say what they want in terms of dollar amount. When they ask for the prayer, they basically say, "Wherefore the city respectfully requests the court find that the city incurred necessary costs investigating and responding to the defendant's statements made in violation of the municipal code, ordered and B, ordered the defendant to pay the city's response costs in the amount to be proven at trial, and C, ordered the defendant to pay the city a penalty in amount equal to the city's litigation and collection costs and attorney's fees, and D, award such further relief as the court deemed just and equitable. This does not look good. Essentially, this guy is going to be, forgive me for saying this, but this guy's going to be a slave after if the city wins this case, because I mean we've just read the statute and we see that they can basically come back and get them for three times the cost. So he basically, they were asking, or they alleged that the costs were $130,000, so they can come back and basically hit them for three times that much, which is essentially close to $400,000. And then addition to that, they can add additional fees and costs to that, like legal fees and the cost of actually litigating this case. I'm just going to say right off the top, if I were Jussie Smollett, I would call up Rahm Emanuel or Lori Lightfoot or whomever, and I would basically just say, hey, look, I'm ready to plead guilty. Let me go ahead and write you a check for 130,000. And if I couldn't afford that check, I would basically say, look, put me on a payment plan. Put me on the payment plan. Let me go ahead and plead guilty. Put me on the payment plan, so we can get this over with. So I also did a video about the lawsuit for the Unsundario brothers. And to me, in retrospect, looking back at the lawsuit, actually, this lawsuit was first, and the Unsundario brothers lawsuit. This lawsuit came on the 11th of April, and the Unsundario lawsuits came on the 19th of April, I believe. So, looking back on the Unsundario lawsuits against the Jussie Smollett lawyers, to me, it looks like, in retrospect, the powers that be, is trying to orchestrate a divide and conquer type approach. So it looks like there's going to be a situation where Jussie Smollett can't really proceed with his current lawyers because his current lawyers will be tied up in federal court somewhere. And God forbid if the Unsundario brothers decide to add Jussie Smollett to their federal case, it would be over. There'd be absolutely no way he would survive this. At any rate, please leave your questions, comments, and your thoughts below. And also, please subscribe if you like this type of content. I hope to become better at it, and I hope to basically continue to produce this type of content in the future. Thank you. Bye.